Okay, so I've made a couple of videos on the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 lineup, but we never really talked about the release date in a more assertive way, and the reason being, we simply didn't know when it was going to be released. In fact, you may not even see a flagship Samsung tablet this year. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, you may be familiar with this already, but Samsung has been on a hyper grinding mode where they just try to cover every segment of the tech industry in terms of, mobile devices. And I did highlight this in my Galaxy Tab A7 Lite video in response to some of the comments that I had gotten from some of my viewers. And in their opinion, Samsung is just doing way too much trying to create a device for every single category. It just becomes tiring, right? And even though they may be right to point that out, the reality is that Samsung really is trying to cover all bases, no matter how small that target may be. That being said, the next Samsung Unpacked event coming up August 11 is going to cover a whole range of devices, except we will not see, or we may not see, at least based off of the leaks that we've seen so far, we may not see an unveiling of the flagship tablet lineup. We actually may have to wait up until next year. Now, there is a number of reasons why that may be. And one of those reasons, which you may not agree with, is that maybe, just maybe, Samsung is just trying to take the time to, create enough palpable gap between the current lineup, the Galaxy Tab S7 versus the Galaxy Tab S8 that will be coming up. Now, remember, I made a video on why you should get the current Galaxy Tab S7 or the Tab S7 Plus as opposed to the Galaxy Tab S8 or the Tab S8 Plus, simply because what we know of the Tab S8 lineup seem to point to the fact that the upgrade will be fairly marginal, meaning that the gap between the Tab S7 and the Tab S8 may not be that big. So the difference between both lineups as of now pretty much relies on the new one, the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra, and also the new chipsets, of course, along with some negligible stuff that you can compare and say, well, that doesn't exist on the Tab S7, but nothing really substantial that can really prompt most people to go ahead and buy the Tab S8 as opposed to just grabbing the cheaper Tab S7. So again, maybe by pushing the release date to a later date, Samsung may be in a better position where there are newer features available and easier to implement in a way where after these features have been added to the Tab S8 lineup, then it would make that worth it, worth the upgrade. As it stands right now, the upgrade as we know it will definitely not be a major jump, and the user experience is going to be the same for sure. Actually, this makes it very similar to what's happening with the M1 iPad Pro versus the iPad Pro from last year. Another reason why the Tab S8 may be delayed is, of course, a very obvious one, right? The major global chip shortage that we all know about. In fact, it's even affecting the car industry. We already know and remember what happened with the production of the Galaxy S21 FE, which Samsung took a quick stop in order to try to figure out how the production will go for the S21 FE lineup. By the way, welcome to the channel if this is your first time visiting. If you do like the content so far, I truly appreciate that. Please don't forget to hit both the like and the subscribe button there. It's a tremendous boost to this channel, and again, I very much appreciate that. Here's another thing that is the potential cause of that delay. The fact that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Samsung wants to cover every single device possible, or every single category possible. Some online tech articles are pointing to the fact that Samsung is taking on so many different projects. Not that they can't do it, but they're taking on so many that it's actually creating, conflicts when it comes to scheduling the unveiling of these different projects. And you have that comboed with, obviously, the chip shortage, as I mentioned earlier. So the conflict of scheduling multiple unveilings of these devices, especially as we're recovering from the pandemic. And all of this is very interesting because I, just like many of you, had been hoping or had been expecting, for Samsung to kind of stick with the usual schedule, August, like we've seen in the past. So I thought, just like it was the case last August during the Samsung Unpacked event when they announced the Galaxy Tab S7 lineup, they would do the same with the Galaxy Tab S8 lineup in August of this year. And at the same time, I also thought they were going to include the announcement of the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra at the same time they were announcing the regular Tab S8 and the Tab S8 Plus. A little bit like they did when they announced the very first Ultra device with the S20 Ultra, I believe that was. So they announced the regular S20, the S20 Plus, and they did the S20 Ultra. I literally thought they were just going to mirror that same scheduling. Now, besides that possible pushback till next year for the release of this lineup, everything else remains the same. So the leaks that we've seen so far, they seem fairly concrete in terms of hardware. Those things remain the same. We will still get a lineup that includes 3 different flagship tablets, with the latest addition being, as I mentioned already, the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. In terms of specs for all of them, there's still speculation that the chip shortage causing the delay could even get Samsung to a point where they go with an even higher level of the Snapdragon chipset, since we will be finding ourselves sometime next year, but that also has not been confirmed. Now, it's not great that there's a potential for the release of these tablets to be pushed to next year, but it could be a good thing if it comes out when a new chip is out. So when you have that new chipset, that may create a little bit more of a gap between the next lineup and the current lineup of flagship tablets from Samsung. But then again, anything is possible, so take this just as a leak, so it could change anytime. And to close here, just a very quick highlight of what's going to be happening across all 3 devices. You have base storage of 128 gigs, upgradable via micro SD card. All of them, all the base models, are going to be topped at 8 gigs of RAM, including the Ultra. And then the S8 and the S8 Plus, you also have the option to go for the 256 gigs of internal storage, whereas the Ultra, you will have the option to go for the 512 gigs of internal storage. So there's nothing in between. It's either the 128 gigs or the 512 for the Ultra with 12 gigs of RAM, or 8 gigs of RAM with 128 for the base, or 256 would be the other option available for the regular S8 and the S8 Plus. The regular S8 will have the same screen as the current Tab S7, so the LTPS TFT display, which will be standing at 11 inches, along with support for 120 Hz refresh rate, and you will have 8,000 milliamp battery, just like it is the case now. And finally, of course, you will get the same physical features you find on the current Tab S7. The S8 Plus will also be boasting that same Super AMOLED display you find on the current Tab S7 Plus. Same size, also 12.4 inches, and the battery size would be the same, also 10,090 milliamp. It would also have support for 120 Hz refresh rate, along with the same physical features. The Ultra, on the other hand, will boast a 14.6 inch display with 12,000 milliamp hour for the battery. An addition here is that you will get 2 cameras on the front of the tablet as opposed to the other 2, and everything else I noted about the Tab S8 and the S8 Plus will be available on this tablet in terms of physical features. Anyway, that's all I had for today. I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Are you disappointed? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're looking forward to it. I would love to hear what you are thinking about this upcoming lineup. Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to catch you there. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, of course. Don't forget to share the video. Up until that next video and up until I catch you in that comment section, make sure to stay safe out there.